Hey guys, what's up? Hope everybody's having a good day today, and thanks for tuning into the channel, man. Much appreciated. And just got back from Table Rock Lake and did a bunch of shakyhead fishing today, and it made me thought about the topic of today's video, and that is, how to choose the correct weight for the shakyhead they're using, because I think that's one of probably the most overlooked aspects of shakyhead fishing is the size of head that you use. I mean, because it has everything to do with, how the bait looks in the water, how it falls, which a lot of times is the keys to catching those fish on it. So I'm going to sort of have a discussion on sort of my opinion on Shakyhead Sizes. But hey, just real quick, just want to remind you guys, tomorrow night, at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, Johnny and I have our weekly live podcast. You can join us with that on Go to Fish the Moment Live. Hope to see you guys there. And also April the 15th, Johnny and I have our next virtual online seminar we've been talking about, post-spawn patterns. It's going to be info-packed, 3-hour seminar, 6 to 9 p.m. Johnny's taking all the offshore post-spawn stuff. I'm going to tell you all the shallow water stuff. So it's going to be a good time. You can sign up for that at fishthemoment.com. So, okay, let's have a little conversation about this shakyhead deal. I think a lot of people get locked into one size of shakyhead. I think that everybody seems to got their favorite, whether it be it's usually 1/8 ounce, 3/16, or 1/4 ounce. And what I want to try to tell you guys today is there's applications for every size out there, and I'm going to sort of go over each one of them when I like to fish it. And I'm going to start small, which is my favorite. My personal favorite for shakyhead size is a 1/16 of an ounce. I think the bait, whatever, if you're using a 4-inch worm, or like a trick worm like I use a lot, zoom trick worm on a shakyhead, if you guys have ever watched a 1/16 of an ounce shakyhead, the way a worm falls with that, it is so natural looking. It just glides down there nice and smooth. It's very realistic. And another thing I like about the 1/16 of an ounce head is you can work it through rocks really good without getting hung up. And we're talking specifically about springtime shakyhead fishing here, when those bass are, most of the time in less than 10 foot of water, or less than 20, depending how clear it is, because we caught a lot of fish today at Table Rock on shakyheads anywhere between 3 to 25 feet. So in the springtime of year, if you have a mixed species of bass, spotted bass, largemouth and smallmouth, they use a lot of different depths, even when a lot of the fish are bedding. We saw fish on beds today, and we caught them 25 foot deep. So, every fish doesn't do the same thing at the same time. But anyway, when I'm fishing a rocky lake that has a lot of snags in it, or if I'm fishing around boat docks, my go-to size is a 1/16 of an ounce head. The problem you have with a 1/16 of an ounce head is most companies don't make one that has the right hook in it that you can use on a bigger worm, like a 6 or 7 inch worm. Most of the 1/16 ounce heads have a fairly small hook in it that are sort of designed for a 4-inch worm. So one of the things I like to do is I like to take an 1/8 ounce head that has a little bit bigger hook, maybe like a 3/0 or something like that, and I file it down with a lead file until I can get it down to 16ths or 3/32, something like that. And then I paint it red, the head red with fingernail polish. So that works really good. But I'm telling you guys right now, a 1/16 of an ounce shakyhead on a trick worm with 8-pound test line is a fish catching little morsel in the springtime of the year. Just give it a try. I mean, you guys will be amazed how good it works. Okay, the second one, the 1/8 ounce, I consider the 1/8 ounce sort of my workhorse. An 1/8 ounce catches fish in so many different situations. The time that I go to an 1/8 ounce is if I'm in the springtime of the year, is if I'm fishing a situation where the wind's blowing pretty good. Like today, the wind was blowing, 20 mile an hour plus. I had to go to the 1/8 ounce just to keep it down. An 1/8 ounce, it has a decent fall. It falls obviously twice as quick as the 1/16 of an ounce, but it still is fairly effective even on rocky, jaggedy bottoms. It gets through, okay with that. You'll still get hung up, but it's not as good as the 16th, but it will work. But I'm going to say throughout the course of the springtime of the year that I probably have the 1/8 ounce on, I'm going to guess, probably at least half of the time, maybe 60% of the time. good all-around workhorse. Again, I throw it mainly on the 6-inch trick worm. Occasionally I'll use the 4-inch finesse worm if the bite is really tough, for example, or say if the wind isn't blowing much, it's real clear water, I'll go to the 4-inch size on there. But the 1/8 ounce is just a good overall size when those fish are in that 5 to 15 foot of water. Now, the next one we'll talk about is the 3/16, and I find out that a lot of people, they seem to like the 3/16 a lot. They just feel that, I don't know, they like the way it feels or the way it falls or whatever it is. But the 3/16, the only time that I use it is if the wind's really howling, if it's really ripping. If you're fishing like gravelly points, something like that, areas that aren't real snaggy. But if you try to fish a 3/16 of an ounce on rocky banks, steeper rocky banks that have a lot of jagged rock in it, you're going to get hung up a lot with that thing. It just doesn't come through the rocks very good at all. So, in my opinion, there's not a lot of reason to use that 3/16 in the springtime of the year, because I found from my own fishing that those bass like a slower fall in the springtime of the year with the Shakyhead. They prefer that. I mean, regardless of the water visibility is a foot or 20 feet. I just like to go lighter than I can, but a lot of people use that 3/16 as their go-to size with that. So a lot of it depends on the personality of the fish too, because sometimes if you're fishing in clear water, I think a lot of times the size of the sinker may matter a little bit more, because you're dealing with a couple different bite factors. Sometimes in clear water, the fish will visually chase that bait down, they'll see it, and sometimes they'll hit it on the way down on a light sinker, and other times they want it on the bottom. So a lot of the times, if these fish are focused and they're on the bottom and they're not chasing, sometimes you can get away with that 3/16. And then the final one is a 1/4 ounce. I see some guys using a 1/4 ounce sinker, a 1/4 ounce head on their Shakyhead, which I see no reason at all on it. I mean, the only factor that I can see if you're fishing a 1/4 ounce head is if you're fishing main lake points, gin clear water, and the wind's blowing 30 miles an hour, and those fish are in 20 foot of water, then yeah, you might have to have a heavier head. But if you're fishing a typical springtime situation, when those fish are in that 5 to 10 foot of zone, there's really no use to use a 1/4 ounce head. The 1/4 ounce head, normally it comes with a bigger hook, same with 3/16, and anytime you're dealing with a bigger hook on a Shakyhead, you have a tendency to lose more fish. Smaller wire hooks will definitely hook fish better on a Shakyhead, and anytime that you go up in your wire diameter on a Shakyhead, you tend to lose more fish. And then every time you go up in wire size, hook size, and head size, it takes away the finesse aspect of a Shakyhead. So every size has got its place. I mean, it's a tool like your toolbox, and if you're going to fish Shakyheads in the springtime of the year, you need a lot of different sizes, to match those conditions. But for me, most of the time, and the biggest tip I want to give you guys in this particular video is, if you have not tried a 1/16 of an ounce head on a Shakyhead, just give it a try, because what it does is it forces you to slow down, and that's another big key in the springtime of the year. I think a lot of people get they start fishing too fast, but the springtime of the year, those bass like bottom bouncing lures, you need to fish slow and steady. And a 1/16 ounce head, since it falls slow, almost like a wacky rig, it forces you to slow down. And the slower that you fish this time of year, the better chance that you have to catch quality bass, those bigger bass. So guys, just give it a try. Get out there, just get into those spawning type coves, or just outside the spawning type coves. Get you an 1/8 ounce Shakyhead, file it down to a 1/16 of an ounce. Put a green pumpkin trick worm on the thing, rough it up, put you some 8-pound test fluorocarbon. I don't use the braided fluorocarbon on Shakyhead, I go straight fluoro, and fish those spawning areas and those areas just outside the spawning areas, and you'll catch a bunch of fish. I mean, there's no doubt you will. I think a Shakyhead is probably the best bait in the springtime of the year to catch numbers and size of fish. you'll catch dinks on it and you'll catch good ones on it both, and you get a lot of bites on it. It's just absolutely one of the top springtime lures you can throw. So anyway, just a little talk on head size for shaky heads. Hope you guys are doing good today. Again, appreciate you guys watching the channel. If you guys don't mind, if you like this video, if you think it helps you out, please hit that like button, and invite you guys to subscribe if you haven't, man. We'd much appreciated to have you on board. So we'll talk to you guys later. See ya.